Hello, welcome to the Courageous Self-Care podcast. I'm your host, Christina Marlette. On this show, I love to talk about self-care that makes a dramatic difference. It's the kind of self-care where it's not the easiest stuff, and it is self-care that takes courage. That's because it is a combination of both external and internal self-care. So often we just want to focus on our bodies or your body. You don't have several. You just want to focus on your body, and that is what the message that the media sends out and popular culture is, that if we focus on our body, that is self-care. And yes, that is absolutely true. Getting massages and working out and eating well and getting hydrated, all fantastic forms of self-care. And at the same time, if we ignore what's going on the inside, the internal self-care, there's no way that our body will be as healthy as we want it to be, because we are made up not only of the food we eat and we're not just made up of the food we eat, we're made up of ideas, we're made up of beliefs, we're made up of habits and brain patterns, neural pathways. And if we fail to address those, then it's just not possible to be the best version of yourself or the happiest, most vital version of yourself possible. So that is why I love to talk about courageous self-care. It is a combination of both. We want to do some external self-care, we want to do some internal self-care. And often the internal stuff just takes more courage. All right, so today I would like to share with you the answer to the question, why is this happening to me? And this is for when tough stuff shows up in our lives. Often when we start or continue along the path of personal discovery, we're reading self-help books, we're taking courses, we're learning how to improve ourselves in this industry of self-help. We are all gung-ho because we think it's going to be amazing, and then we get into a course or we start doing the work, and something dramatically difficult shows up. And we say, what the heck is happening, and why is this happening to me? This can be both for major life challenges and also for those little bumps that come up along the way. So why does this stuff show up, especially when we start focusing on how we can become the best version of ourselves? I have the answer. Aren't you excited? And I'm going to give it to you right away, and then I'm going to tell you a story about it. So the answer is, we're on this personal discovery train, and this stuff starts to happen, and it kind of derails us. So here is a catchy little phrase I learned from some mentors of mine. I'm pretty sure this came from, I've had a lot of mentors, so I'm pretty sure this came from Marcy Shimoff and Deborah Poneman from the Year of Miracles. I think that's the first time I heard it. When stuff comes up, it is being revealed to be healed. It's being revealed to be healed. What does that mean? Okay, so when stuff is showing up, it is indicating that there is an underlying thought pattern or thought habit or belief that is showing up because it's ready to be addressed and healed. So actually, it's really good news when stuff shows up in your life that you're uncomfortable with, or it derails you, or it doesn't feel good, or it is a giant bump in your road. It's good news. So I want to share a practical example of how this showed up recently in my life. There's something definitely being revealed to be healed. So I am a very safe driver. I go the speed limit, I follow the rules, and ever since, well, the first year of driving, I got into 3 accidents. That was a long time ago. 3 minor fender bender type things. Not all my fault, but some of them were, definitely. Okay, anyway, what you need to know is that I'm a safe driver and I follow the rules. I don't like paying money for tickets, and I also just think it's a good idea to go the speed limit. Safety first, I say. So recently, I got a ticket in the mail, and it said that someone in our family car was speeding, and immediately I wanted to blame my husband. So that is not a useful habit, that I wanted to blame someone else. And I did some stealth digging, and I looked at the picture that they sent where it turns out I was speeding, where our car was speeding, and I looked at the calendar and I thought, who was in the car at this time and what were we doing? Fortunately, my calendar holds a lot of information, and I could figure out where the car was and who was driving, and it was me. Oh, so I'm not usually into blaming, but in this circumstance, I definitely wanted it not to be me, because I do not get speeding tickets. I think this is the first one I've ever had in my life. And generally my husband goes the speed limit too, but sometimes he just misses playground zones. So it turns out we were in a construction zone. I was in a construction zone taking full responsibility here, and I was not going the speed limit. So it was a $230 ticket. And I was very angry about it. I definitely reacted in a way that didn't make me feel proud of my reaction. And I noticed that some very harsh thoughts came my way from my brain. And they were saying things like, you deserve to be punished. You should not buy yourself anything nice for at least a month. You are bad. You made a terrible mistake. And it made me cry. This voice inside me was so vicious. It was an unpleasant experience. Fortunately, my husband, Paul, came to my rescue, and he said, well, let's do what I did last time I got a speeding ticket. Let's go to court. Let's not pay it right away. There's a court date scheduled on here. Let's go and see if we can get it reduced, because that's what happened for me last time. And I thought, well, I do not want to do that. That does not sound like my idea of a good time. I didn't want to do that at all. And then he said, how about we make it a date? So we'll go to the courthouse, and then afterwards we will spend the morning together. And that I could get on board with. That totally shifted my perspective. And I thought, I would love to do that. So that made it feel better. And I thought that was that. Last week, I got another notice in the mail. And this time it was from the Calgary Parking Authority. I got a parking ticket. This time I knew it was for sure me, because there was a day I was out with my kids, and twice I forgot to pay for the parking. And I didn't see a ticket on my dashboard, and so I thought I got off scot-free. But then the mail revealed otherwise. I had gotten a parking ticket. And I couldn't blame anyone but myself this time. Definitely took responsibility, and I didn't have as giant an outward reaction, so I don't think I actually cried in anger. But it did make me grumpy for a little while, and my family picked up on it, and they said what I always say to them. It's so hard when your medicine comes back at you. They said, it's only a mistake. My daughter said, Mommy, it's only a mistake. It's okay to make mistakes. I said, I know. And I don't like paying money that could have been spent on more fun stuff. And I should have known better. I have a great memory. How could I have forgotten to pay for parking twice in one day? Well, it turns out that I was excited to be with my kids. We were doing fun stuff and it just slipped my mind. But that voice showed up again in my head. that I deserved to be punished, and boy, was it vicious. So this is the point of the story. The two situations that were very similar, they came up very close to each other. So how old am I? I don't know. I've gone like 30 years without a parking ticket or speeding ticket, and all of a sudden in 1 month, two of the same kind of thing, same reaction. And I realized, oh, I know what's happening. Something is being revealed to be healed. So I thought about it for a bit and realized that underneath, and it hasn't showed up for a long time overtly, but underneath, somewhere down in my subconscious, there was a belief that if I made mistakes, I deserved to be punished. And so that's why I work so hard to get things right and to not make mistakes, because there was a part of me that was believing that I was going to be punished, if not by other people, then by myself. I was going to inflict severe punishments on myself. It was super clear when I tuned into those thoughts that were showing up in my mind. So obviously, this is not serving me. Being afraid to make mistakes is not a way to live your life. In order to learn, you must make mistakes, and I must make mistakes. So this wasn't really about the speeding ticket, because I know I'm a great driver. And it wasn't really about the parking ticket, because I know I'd have a great memory. This was about this belief system that I have, I've been working on it underneath, that was showing me that I had a terrible fear of making mistakes for fear of being punished. Now that sounds like a pretty old belief, don't you think? Probably happened sometime in my first 5 years. So I was able to be grateful for these two challenges, these hiccups in my driving and in my cash situation and in my belief situation, because it was a gift. They showed up to reveal that this belief was no longer serving me and it was ready to be healed. What can you do when tough stuff shows up? I want to give you a 3-step process. If you've listened before, you will recognize it. It is a 3-step process for moving through fear. It's a 3-step process for avoiding procrastination. It's also a 3-step process for courageous self-care, and specifically releasing these beliefs that aren't serving us. So step number 1, get curious. This is the 3C approach. Get curious. And that's what I did. So I'm just going to use this story as an example to share this process. So first of all, I became aware of what was happening. Like, why am I having such a huge reaction to what in essence is a few $100s, which is not a huge deal? Why am I having this reaction? What could be going on? And when I got curious, I was able to realize, there's something so much deeper going on than just what's on the surface. This is not about parking tickets, not about speeding tickets. I got curious and really realized that there was this belief that was getting revealed to be healed. Step number 2, after you get curious, and you need to do that by watching your thoughts, asking yourself questions. What's actually going on here? Is this similar to other situations? Why is it showing up now? Just ask yourself all sorts of different questions, getting curious. Step number 2 is get connected. In this case, if something challenging is showing up, I invite you to get connected to the root. Where is this challenge coming from? What is the underlying belief or thought pattern or thought habit that is showing up? And so in my example, I got connected to the belief that I had that I needed to be punished for making mistakes. It just came out so clearly. And when I was able to connect with that, and this is what happens with beliefs, often they're formed when we're quite young and we deal with them for often a long time, until we have the adult thought process and ability to resolve them so that they don't have to run our lives underneath the surface anymore. So you want to get connected with what's going on underneath. And also notice what emotions are present. For me, it was anger, a lot of anger, especially directed at myself. And where's this coming from? So these are some great questions to ask yourself in order to get connected. What's underneath all of this? What emotions are present? And so for me, the emotions were anger, a lot of anger, self-loathing, disappointment in myself, guilty, that blame was showing up. So these are some really intense emotions that were all wrapped up in that belief pattern. And I didn't need to be feeling them anymore. That is the great news about getting curious or getting connected and getting curious. And for these challenges to show up is that all of a sudden we now have the information we need to be able to move through them. Okay. And then step number 3, get creating. So first we got curious, then we got connected, and then get creating. So this isn't get creative. It's not an invitation to solve the problem creatively. This is an invitation to take action. And so a great question to ask yourself to get creating. This is creating a new reality, creating a new belief system, creating a new experience. So a great question to ask yourself for this step is, what would I love instead? So when I dug down into that, what would I love instead of feeling like I need to be punished when I make a mistake? Well, that's pretty clear. I would love to be gentle with myself. I would love to be free to make mistakes without fear of self-loathing and self-judgment and wanting to blame someone and intense anger. I would love to make mistakes and feel light and easy and free about them. I would love to be free of feeling like I need to be punished. So turning that around, when you're getting clarity on something, you can focus first on what you don't want, but then you want to shift it into a more positive type of affirmation. So for me, it would sound something like, I love myself no matter what. I am kind and gentle with myself. It is okay for me to make mistakes because that is how I learn. Those are the affirmations that have worked for me to move through this bump, this hiccup, this challenge, and are allowing me to create a new reality where it is absolutely okay to make mistakes. And in fact, I can encourage myself to take risks because no matter what kind of mistakes I make, it is okay. I will love myself no matter what. So I think what I would really love is unconditional self-love. So those are the 3 steps that you can take to move through a challenge. Get curious, get connected, get creating. I hope that was helpful for you and that it answered the question, why is this happening to me? Because when these tough things happen, now these were not really major things, but they still bothered me and brought out some pretty intense emotions. This process will also work with major life challenges of loss and grief and giant bumps in the road. This process will help with those as well, because always when challenges come towards us, there is an opportunity for personal discovery, for growth, for becoming an even better version of yourself. The other thing I want to throw in there is that gratitude helps a lot. And this is a kind of gratitude that I like to call outrageous gratitude. So when something really annoying or frustrating or anger-inducing happens, looking for gratitude in the situation can really shift the energy. It did for me. And when I went to pay the parking ticket, I said, I'm so grateful to make my donation to the city of Calgary now. or whoever owns the parking spot I was in. I'm glad to be making a donation. And then it didn't feel like I had to pay it. It felt like a privilege. And then, I have to tell you the end of the story. So yesterday was our court date, and bless my husband, he went on his own. I didn't even have to go, which was amazing. And then we had a lovely date for the rest of the morning and connected and got to spend time together. So it turned out better than I could have imagined. And that's another affirmation I like to use a lot. This is going to turn out even better than I ever could have imagined. And that's when my mind starts worrying and having anxiety about stuff. I catch it right away and change it into that mantra and affirmation. I don't know how, but this is going to turn out better than I ever could have imagined. So, yeah, that's a little bit of extra information for you on how to move through those tough situations where you're just looking up at the sky and wondering with existential angst, why is this happening to me? It's happening for your highest good. Isn't that great news? It doesn't help at the time, probably, but as we get some distance in between us and the challenge, it is happening for our highest good so that we can become the next best version of ourselves. This is true courageous self-care. So, I would love to offer you a gift. I have a resource called the Daily Self-Care Checklist, and it's a download with, it's very pretty. I like how it looks visually. I crafted it as a resource, so it's not just a checklist, it's a teaching, and it gets you into the 5 different habits and skill sets you can start cultivating that will enhance your courageous self-care. So I invite you to go to ChristinaMarlette.com to get that. The link is in the description for this episode. And the final thought I would like to leave you with is that, and I say this a lot, if you listen frequently, it's worth saying again, self-care is not selfish. It benefits everyone. So in this example, me taking responsibility, taking ownership, noticing that I have this belief system running that's not serving me, when I take responsibility and take steps to resolve that and change it into a belief that does serve me, obviously that's not just for me. I'm not going to have that same reaction towards my husband. I'm going to be able to react in a way that serves me and won't bring the energy of my family down. And then when we practice courageous self-care, it's for ourselves, it's for our immediate family and friends and circle of influence, and it's also an energetic ripple that goes out all over the world and makes a tremendous difference. So there is nothing selfish in that. I invite you to practice this process and the next time a challenge shows up in your life, and you won't be doing it just for you, but you are sure going to benefit. All right. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to connecting with you again next time. Bye-bye for now.